Welcome back. You're still watching Nile Cruise with Ronald Assas and myself, Mohammed Abdurrahim, from the Ministerial Palace in Al Manial, in the heart of Cairo. And dear viewers, you know, the 3 kilometer long island of Rhoda is unofficially divided into a northern and southern section with the Manial Palace in the middle. The name of the island reportedly derives from a residence that stood in the south belonging to Prince Manial of the Bahari Mamluks. Also, of course, at the south are the two historic landmarks. The oldest by far is the Miqyas al-Nil, or the Nilometer, used since civilization began to measure the progress of the Nile, thus predicting the resulting harvest and taxation. Of course, as you saw in the report by Sahra Talawi, this palace also comprises the Kulthum Museum. And dear viewers, now with us is tourist expert Bassem Zaki, and he will be talking to us about the history of Rhoda Island and many interesting touristic elements about Cairo. Thank you very much, Mr. Zeki, for joining
Thank you,
us.
sir. It's my pleasure.
Mr. Bassem, it's a wonderful day and
Thank
a sunny day, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Thank you.
Sir, of course, there are means of, there are traditional means, of course, that we use in Egypt and untraditional ways for promoting tourism. Could you tell us, sir, about both ways?
Since decades, we have been following the traditional ways of promoting tourism in Egypt by contacting the tour operators abroad and by sending emails, making phone calls, and even paying visits. Step by step, we're starting to attend travel trades, mainly in European countries. We started to promote as travel agents. We started, and DMCs, we started to promote the country, tourism, and our product for sure. With the help for sure of the Ministry of Tourism, who used to make contacts and arrange for us those travel trades shows and the stands and all the communication stuff. But as time goes by, we all found out that the traditional ways will no longer help. We are all experiencing the changes in the world, the influence of the internet, the digital marketing, the social media. So we had to match with those changes for sure. And with the energetic Minister of Tourism, Dr. Anya Al-Mashat, who's very much up to date with those changes and the new skills and the new ways and finding new ways to promote the tourism in Egypt, we entered, I would call it now that since 2 years maybe, we entered a new era of promoting tourism in Egypt. She's knocking on all the doors to promote our field. She's doing all the possible things with cooperation with international marketing organizations all over the world, with big media companies all over the world. Lately, she even signed contracts with CNN, as we all heard, the China, C-Trip, and many other big names to enter this, to go through the new methods and ways of promoting tourism, because we will no longer survive with all the traditional ways of promoting tourism.
Right. Mr. Zeki, we'll get back to that, but talk to us, please, about Rhoda Island. And what do we know about the history of Rhoda Islands and some of the forgotten gems, if you will?
One of the most beautiful islands we have in Egypt, one of 2 or 3 islands we have in Cairo. It's in central Cairo. History of Rhoda goes back to the time of the pharaohs, thousands of years ago. They first called it Per Happy En On. That was the first old name of the island. Later on, the Greek mistranslated the name and they pronounced it Babylon. That's why the name was known as Babylon. And later on, even the fortress which was built later on, it was called Babylon Fortress. Basically, it's Per Happy En On, which means the house of the Nile of On. And for the pharaohs, On was always Heliopolis, They always called Heliopolis on. That's why the island is attached, it's more associated with Heliopolis area, though it links Cairo and Giza, but it's always more associated with Heliopolis. It's between the east bank of the Nile with ancient Memphis and the west bank with Heliopolis. The island has always been very important, has witnessed lots of great events through the history of Egypt. Mamluks, Bahari Mamluks and other factions of Mamluks, they lived on this island. There were always royal palaces, rich gardens, barracks of Mamluks, arsenals, shipbuilding. Even during the Pharaoh time, there were places for shipbuilding, arsenal, and barracks for the soldiers. So the island has always been a very important spot. Till the Islamic period, they had a great effect as well on the island, since it was very important. And they made the current Nilometer that we have now, which was built in 1851 by the Khalifa Mutawakkil. Basically, we always had Nilometer on this island, even since the time of the pharaohs, because it was very important for Egypt to measure the Nile, to expect the harvest time, to expect how much or how many items of crops they should expect during the harvest time. And it was their tool or means of imposing taxes. That's why the Nilometer was always very important. So since the pharaohs, it was there. 150 years even before this Nilometer was founded, there was another one, but it was demolished by one of the heavy Nile floods. So Al-Mutawakkil ordered this to be built. So it was built in 1851. And it witnessed some renovation work and refurbishment and things. That's why the island has always been like the gem on the Nile.
Beautiful.
Okay, Mr. Bassem, back again to the Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Rania Al-Mashat, of course, and her efforts under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, of course. Where do you see tourism today in Egypt?
We are stepping ahead, for sure. We are advancing. We are on the right way. I think we are doing good. All the figures say so. The number of tourists and the overcome or the turnover we made in 2019 is 28% increase since last year. All those indications gives you the information that you are on the right way. You are doing good. So we all feel this, not only from the number of tourists we receive, which reached, I believe, 9.8 millions of tourists.
And how many do you expect, sir?
We are targeting 12 millions. We all hope that by 2020 we will reach 12 millions. We all hope so. And I think we are doing all what we can to reach this number. And the ministry as well, they are doing all the possible things to reach this number.
You're very near to the 12 million, sir. And nowadays I see here in Egypt many Arabs which are visiting Egypt or Cairo in specifically, because this is where I am. Is Cairo now target to Arab tourism?
Egypt has always been the second home of the Arabs since decades. They love Egypt. They go everywhere and they return to visit Egypt. Wherever they go, still they love Egypt. And they are our brothers and sisters. So the links between us, the history, the traditions, the language, the religion, the many things. That's why we are deeply linked. Yes, we always receive a lot of Arabs, but I believe that we need to do more, to exert more efforts, to receive more Arabs, because a big part, a big segment of the Arab tourists, they no longer find their needs in Egypt. They prefer to go to Europe. And they started to leave to more exotic spots. I think we need to work in that. We need to do more efforts. You know the style of the Arab tourists. They love the luxurious hotels. They love the best services, the best food, best quality in everything. So we need to work in this. We need to work on the ranks in our hotels. We need to make sure that they are qualified. We need to work on the hygiene systems. We need to make sure that our roads are clean and prepared to receive more numbers of tourists. It's not that you just target new or higher number of tourists. You need to work on your infrastructure before you think of this. You need to prepare yourself to receive more tourists. I think that's one of the main aspects, one of the main things that we need to consider in order to reach our goal, or else we will be wishing to get things that I don't think we will get.
Mr. Zaki, there is a global trend now, which is the people-to-people tourism and people-to-people visits and promotion of tourism. How are we doing in this trend, and what's your recommendations?
We do that through social media, I believe, through meetings, through contacts. Now the world is open. They call it now one small village, the whole world. This people to people and face to face and through personal contacts, this fine, we do that, but I don't think this is a backbone for the promotion of tourism. Still, it is one of the ways, but I believe it's not the backbone. What we are doing, I think.
So you still think that the old traditional ways are the more important?
The old traditional ways joined with the new ways of promoting tourism, like we said, the digital marketing, the international, the social media, what is being done now. This is very important.
Mr. Bassem, do you see that social media is one of the most important means to enhance and promote tourism, or do you see it as one of the means, not the most important means?
It is one of the very important means.
In addition to?
In addition to everything, the digital marketing, the international marketing, even the normal marketing, even the emails, the travel trades, the traveling, the phone calls, the emails, it's just that you have to do everything. You have to do all what you can. It's not that that's the one way that you can do and you will be happy with your tourism. You have to do everything. You have to exert all the efforts. But social media is very important for sure. It is now a fact in our life. Each and everyone is dealing with the social media. So if it is, or it was, only a means or a way for you to spend your free time, people started to notice that they can make use of this free time by promoting things and doing sales and making marketing. Now we see on the social media very nice video clips of countries which is such great promotion and marketing campaigns for those countries. This is very important because if you are on Facebook, for example, anyway you are there, you are checking your messages and you're viewing your wall. If you see the video clip of a country that you might like, you might reconsider and start thinking, this looks I never thought this country was so beautiful like that. This moves, things. It's a plus for sure.
I want to ask you, sir, about domestic tourism and how can we encourage more local tourists to indeed take the trip for leisure and for other purposes, because I think that we could and we should do better when it comes to domestic tourism.
Some people are still afraid of the concept of traveling to spend their summer vacation in hotels where tourists exist. They think that they might not feel comfortable. Some of them, from a religious point of view, would say that I wouldn't like my kids to see the tourists in the swimsuits, for example, something like this. Others think that it will be a very expensive trip for them. He cannot afford for him and his family to do this. But unfortunately, we haven't targeted all the classes of the society. Those need to be informed, need to be encouraged. Although the majority, I believe now, they go to Hurghada, to Sharm, they even reached Marsa Alam and they reach Dahab and they reach everywhere. But I think that we still need to work in the minority that need more information. They need to to get more
What about
information.
prices, sir?
There is a variety of prices for sure. You have a variety from 2 stars to 5 stars deluxe. So it's like if you want to go to spend your summer vacation in Hurghada, you have a great variety. It's up to you whether you can afford the high level one or you need a modest hotel. It's all there.
So the infrastructure is there, or do we need to build more hotels, like, and target more hotels, say, specifically designed for local tourists?
I wouldn't say that we should construct or build hotels only for local tourists. You need to build a hotel because it is a hotel. It will host a tourist, it will host a local, it will host an Arab, it will host a guest under the name of a guest. So yes, we need to expand because we are targeting 12 millions. Then you need, as I said, to work on your infrastructure. You need to work on the number of hotels you have, the number of Nile cruisers you have on the Nile. You need to work on all aspects. If you want to expand, then you need to work.
Mr. Bassem, mentioning prices. Prices here in Egypt, if we come to compare to other Western countries all over the world nowadays, how do you see the prices for an Arab tourist to come and visit Egypt or to go to a country like the United Kingdom?
We are not expensive, I would say that. In comparison to near countries, we are not to be compared, for example, with Paris, Rome, London, for sure. Those are much, much more expensive than us. But if we will speak of countries like near us or within the
Tunisia,
same level,
Morocco.
like Tunisia, Morocco, like Cyprus, like Greece, like Turkey, I'm speaking of your main competition in the region. We are not expensive, but lately it's no longer about money only. The guests now, they target the budget and the service.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, some of the hotels in Egypt, they are after reducing their money only, their prices, and this affected their quality of service. The food, the service, everything. That's why it's a dilemma. It's what's your target? What type of guest are you targeting? The very cheap one who is willing to pay very cheap prices and does not mind the quality of service he gets? Or you will put a standard that you will not go below this standard?
I think you
will
should
offer-
do it all together. I mean, do classes like A, B, C, D, and so on.
We have this, but still, there is a standard that you should not go below it.
Mr. Bassem, finally, before we wrap up this very, of course, stuffed segment, what do you think about the security of the airport?
I think we are doing much better now. Even lately, the opening of the second new hall in Sharm el-Sheikh airport, it proved that our security measures are getting better.
Mr. Bassem Zaki, a touristic expert, we thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us
so
here
much.
in Nile Cruise today. Thank you so much, sir. Dear
Thank you.
viewers, this was this segment of Nile Cruise, and we have with us now the band Cairo Steps. Stay with us, and we'll be back again with another segment.